The studio lights burned hotter than Kelly Clarkson expected. She sat in the plush chair on the set of Live with Kelly and Ryan, her hands folded tightly in her lap, the faint hum of the audience buzzing like a distant swarm. The air smelled of fresh paint and coffee, and a single flickering bulb in the corner of the set caught her eye, winking like it knew something she didn't. She'd done hundreds of interviews, but this one felt different. The email from Kelly Ripa's team had been vague. "We want to talk about your journey, your music, your truth." Your truth. Those words lingered, heavy as the silence before a storm. Kelly Ripa bounced onto the stage, her smile wide and practiced, her energy a sharp contrast to the way Clarkson felt in her chest. The audience clapped on cue, their enthusiasm a rehearsed wave. "Kelly Clarkson, everybody!" Ripa's voice was bright, almost too bright, like she was overcompensating for something. Clarkson forced a grin, her fingers brushing the edge of her jeans, grounding herself in the denim's familiar texture. She'd been here before, on this stage, in this spotlight, but never like this. Never with the unspoken promise of something more than a casual chat. Clarkson had spent the last decade rebuilding herself. The music industry had chewed her up in her 20s, record labels dictating her sound, tabloids dissecting her weight, her relationships, her every move. She'd clawed her way back with The Voice, her talk show, her raw, soulful albums that poured out her heart. But the scars remained. She was 43 now, a mother of two, a survivor of public scrutiny, and still, somehow, America's sweetheart. Or so they said. The invitation to Ripa's show came after a viral moment, a candid interview where Clarkson admitted she'd struggled with depression after her divorce. The clip had exploded online posts calling her relatable, brave, broken but beautiful. Fans loved her vulnerability, but it left her exposed, like a nerve under a spotlight. Ripa's team had pounced, promising a deep dive into her story. Clarkson agreed, thinking it would be about her music, her resilience. She didn't know they'd been digging. Backstage, the green room had been too quiet. A production assistant with a nervous smile had handed her a water bottle, her eyes darting away when Clarkson tried to make small talk. The air conditioner rattled, and a faint draft carried the scent of hairspray from the makeup room. Clarkson had checked her phone, texts from her kids, a meme from her sister, but nothing could shake the unease settling in her gut. She'd ignored it, chalking it up to nerves. She was good at this, wasn't she? Talking, laughing, being real. The interview started innocently enough. Ripa leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with that talk show host charm. "Kelly, you've been such an inspiration," she began, her voice syrupy. "Your honesty about your struggles, divorce, parenting, the pressure of fame, it's resonated with so many. How do you stay so grounded?" Clarkson exhaled, her shoulders relaxing. This was familiar territory. "You know, I just try to focus on what matters, my kids, my music, the people who lift me up. Life's messy, but you keep going." The audience cooed, a soft ripple of applause. She felt the warmth of their approval, like a blanket on a cold day. But then Ripa's smile shifted, just a fraction. Her eyes flicked to a card in her hand, and Clarkson's stomach twisted. "You've been so open about your divorce," Ripa said, her tone still light but edged with something sharper. "But there's one thing you haven't talked about. Something personal. Can we go there?" The audience leaned in, a collective intake of breath. Clarkson's smile froze. She felt the heat of the lights, the weight of 1,000 eyes. Her mind raced. What did they know? She'd been careful, guarded her private life like a fortress. Her divorce from Brandon Blackstock had been public, messy, but she'd kept the ugliest details locked away. The custody battles, the late-night fights, the things she'd whispered to her therapist but never to a microphone. "Go there?" Clarkson repeated, her voice steady but her heart hammering. She laughed, trying to deflect. "Kelly, you know I'm an open book, but I gotta keep some pages private." The audience chuckled, but Ripa didn't. She tilted her head, her expression a mix of sympathy and curiosity, like a predator playing with its prey. "Sure, but there's been talk. Rumors about a letter. Something you wrote to Brandon, something that never saw the light of day. Care to share?" Clarkson's breath caught. The letter. She hadn't thought about it in years, hadn't spoken of it to anyone but her therapist. It was a raw, unfiltered outpouring of grief, anger, and regret, written in the darkest days of her marriage's collapse. She'd burned it, or thought she had. How did Ripa know? Her mind flashed to Brandon, to the lawyers, to the tabloids that had hounded her. Someone had talked. Someone had betrayed her. The studio was silent now, the audience holding its breath. The flickering bulb in the corner seemed louder, its buzz cutting through the quiet like a blade. Clarkson's hands clenched, her nails digging into her palms. She could feel the camera zooming in, capturing every micro-expression. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, her voice low, controlled. "I write a lot of things, songs, mostly. You know that." Ripa's smile didn't waver, but her eyes gleamed with something dangerous. "Oh, come on, Kelly. We all know you're a poet at heart. This letter, it's been described as explosive. A source close to you said it revealed things about your marriage that would shock the world. Why not share it now? Own your story." The audience murmured, a mix of gasps and whispers. Clarkson's face burned. She wanted to stand, to walk off the set, but her legs felt glued to the chair. She thought of her kids, River and Remy, watching at home, maybe seeing this clip later on X. She thought of the headlines, the memes, the endless speculation. She thought of the letter, its words seared into her memory. "You broke me, but I let you. I hate you for that. I hate myself more. I don't owe anyone that part of me," she said finally, her voice trembling but firm. "Some things are private, Kelly. You of all people should get that." The audience shifted, some nodding, others whispering. Ripa leaned back, her smile softening but not retreating. "Of course, I respect that. But you've built a career on being real. Don't you think your fans deserve the full story?" The question hung in the air, sharp and accusing. Clarkson's chest tightened, her breath shallow. She felt exposed, flayed open for the world to see. The studio felt smaller, the lights hotter, the audience a faceless blur. She wanted to scream, to cry, to tell Ripa to go to hell. But she didn't. She was Kelly Clarkson, the girl who'd survived American Idol, the tabloids, the divorce. She could survive this. "Fans deserve my music," she said, her voice steady now, though it took every ounce of strength. "They deserve my heart through my songs. But my pain? That's mine. I don't owe it to anyone." The audience erupted in applause, some standing, their cheers a wave of support. But Ripa wasn't done. She leaned forward again, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "But what about the truth, Kelly? There's a rumor that the letter wasn't just about your marriage. That it mentioned someone else. A name that could change everything." The studio went deathly quiet. Clarkson's heart stopped. A name. She knew what Ripa was implying. The rumors had swirled for years, whispers of an affair, a betrayal that had never happened. The letter hadn't named anyone, but the tabloids didn't care. They'd spun stories from thin air, linking her to producers, co-stars, even her manager. And now Ripa was dangling it like bait, waiting for her to bite. Clarkson's mind raced. She could deny it, laugh it off, play the game. Or she could fight back. The silence stretched, the air thick with anticipation. The flickering bulb buzzed louder, a metronome to her thoughts. She thought of her kids again, of the world they'd grow up in, of the lies that would follow them. She thought of herself at 20, naive and trusting, signing her life away to fame. "I'm done," Clarkson said, her voice cutting through the silence like a knife. She stood, her chair scraping against the floor, the sound echoing in the studio. The audience gasped, a collective jolt. Ripa's smile faltered, her eyes widening. "I'm not here to feed your ratings, Kelly. I'm not here to be your headline." She ripped off her mic, the wire dangling like a cut lifeline. The producer in the booth scrambled, shouting into his headset, but Clarkson didn't care. She walked toward the edge of the stage, her steps deliberate, her heart pounding. The audience was frozen, some reaching for their phones, others staring in stunned silence. "Kelly, wait," Ripa called, her voice cracking for the first time. But Clarkson didn't turn back. She pushed through the stage door, the cool air of the hallway hitting her like a slap. The door slammed shut, the sound reverberating like a gunshot. For a moment, there was nothing, no cameras, no lights, no eyes. Just her breath, ragged and raw, and the faint hum of the city outside. Back in the studio, Ripper recovered quickly, her laugh light but strained. "Well, folks, that's live TV for you," she said, turning to the audience. "Let's give it up for Kelly Clarkson, always keeping it real." The applause was hesitant, uneven, as the show cut to commercial. X lit up within minutes, clips of the walkout, hashtags trending, opinions splitting like a fault line. Some called Clarkson a hero, others a diva. The letter became a myth, its contents debated in comment threads and talk shows for weeks. Clarkson didn't watch. She sat in her hotel room that night, her phone off, her kids asleep in the next room. The city hummed outside, a distant siren cutting through the quiet. She thought of the letter, of the words she'd poured out in a moment of weakness. She thought of Reepa's smile, of the audience's hunger, of the machine that thrived on tearing people apart. She didn't regret walking out. But she wondered, in the stillness, if she'd ever escape the spotlight's pull. If any of them could. The world loved a story, but it rarely cared about the cost. And maybe that was the real scandal, not the letter, not the rumors, but the way they all kept watching, waiting for someone to break. 6 months later, Kelly Clarkson sat on her porch in Nashville, the evening air thick with the scent of honeysuckle. Her kids' laughter drifted from the backyard, a tether to something real. She hadn't done an interview since that day on Reepa's set, and the world had moved on to new scandals, new headlines. The letter remained a ghost, its words locked in her heart. As the sun dipped below the horizon, she sipped her coffee, her eyes tracing the stars. What's the cost of truth? She wondered, the question lingering like the final note of a song. And in the quiet, she let it go, choosing the peace of silence over the noise of the world.